Hi, everybody. Up, we are not, this happens way too often. We are not Coffee with Jen and Sue. I'm going to change this to Inside Scoop with Sue. And it's amazing how many times I can get that wrong. But hi, everybody. So welcome to Inside Scoop with Sue. And thank you for joining us at 11 instead of 10:30 today. We had a little confusion and then we had a little technical trouble. So I'm thrilled to be here today with Ken Rusk. We're going to have a great conversation. And before I start, I just want to tell everybody that we are going to have some books to give away. So you are going to be able to email me, get entered into the raffle. And the title of the book, do you have a copy of it near you, Ken?
Yeah, I do, as a matter of fact.
Oh, great. Hold it up. So it is called, we'll wait till he runs back. It is called Blue Collar Cash, Love Your Work, Secure Your Future, and Find Happiness for Life. So if you would like to be entered into the raffle, you're going to email me at editor@youreteenmag.com, and Jessica's going to put that link into the comments. So let me introduce Ken. Ken Rusk is a blue-collar entrepreneur who began his career in his teens as a ditch digger. I'm sure, like, not exactly the ditch digger we think of, but we'll hear more about that. And now, decades later, as a highly successful business owner. And as I mentioned, the author of, let me repeat it, hold it up again, Blue Collar Cash, Love Your Work, Secure Your Future, and Find Happiness for Life. Excellent. Okay, so I just want to point out a little bit of an irony, because if you're a Youre Teen follower, you're seeing that we're promoting an 8-week course about college admissions. And what we want to say here is that at Youre Teen, we're here for everybody. And so college is definitely still an option. I know Ken agrees with that. And if you are on the fence and you want to learn about what that admissions process looks like, it's complicated and overwhelming. And we're going to simplify it over the 8-week course. And again, Jessica's going to put that link into the comments. So if you're interested in learning more, just click on the link. So I want to start with a little bit telling your story, because then I want to ask you a question about your story. So if you want to hear the details of Ken's story, it's in his book and it's on every interview. And I'm going to give you the abbreviated version. At 15 years old, which is young, for anyone who has a 15-year-old, we feel like they're too young for this story. You were really drawn to an industrial park that was next to your school, and you went in to find out more information about what was going on there and how you can make some extra money and have some pocket money. So that story is super interesting. But what really drew me in was you were 15 years old. Like, what gave you the gumption, the courage, the confidence to walk in there and have a conversation?
Well, first off, thank you for having me. I think the biggest thing for me was there was a lot of things driving me at the time. I wanted to buy my first used car. I needed gas money for that. I wanted to take my girlfriend out for pizza or go bowling with my buddies. And for me, it was just kind of a necessity thing. I knew that, my father was a pretty hard driving Marine, and he put it into us early on that if you want to make something of your life, then go do it. So for me, it was all about seeing a means to an end, like a good, positive financial end to myself. And so that I walked in and said, "What do you do here?" And they said, "We literally dig ditches." And I said, "Okay, cool, I'm in." So I did that in the summer times when I wasn't in high school. And then in the winter times, I went into the office and worked after school just to learn more, all that I could about this company and how it operated.
So you kind of started out with this entrepreneurial spirit. Like, you had this drive that most 15-year-olds, I mean, you might be driven to say, I want the car and I want these other things, but you really stuck with this company and learned as much as you could.
In the book, I talk a lot about these different characteristics that entrepreneurs have. And I hear this all the time where somebody says, yeah, sure, but you're just lucky because you are an entrepreneur. Well, draw that. Okay. Here's a crayon and some paper. Draw what an entrepreneur is. So literally it boils down to several characteristics like persistence, resilience, drive, innovation, initiative, faith, courage, all those kinds of things, even giving back. So the way I look at it is this. We all have these characteristics within us. We do. We just need a reason for them to come out. And the reason is always, what do I see for myself in the future? What do I want my life to look like? And how can I go get it? Because once you draw that picture really, really clearly in your own mind, all these characteristics just awaken in you and you become that entrepreneurial thinker. and it's a process that works so well. And it's what I talk about in the book to make people's lives how they want them to be.
Okay, so blue collar worker, it kind of has a stigma attached to it. And in fact, I know other places have tried to come up with other words to destigmatize the life. But you embrace the word in your title, you embrace it in your life, and you also talk about the joy of being in that world. So what about it fulfills you so much?
Well, if you look at it this way, so there are a lot of office jobs that don't necessarily allow you to have control over every aspect of it. I mean, if you're sitting on the 15th floor in some office building and you really don't know how you fit into the company, then you're just kind of like working 5-day work weeks and hoping for Friday. So for me, it was always about, if I could take a dump truck and I could put 3 or 4 pine trees in it and a load of mulch, and I could go out and I could beautify someone's house. I could build an outdoor kitchen. I could landscape someone's yard. I could build something that I did with my own 2 hands. Those types of things stand the test of time. And the greatest part about being a blue collar worker is you typically get to control your input and therefore your output, the quality of that output, your time. You get to control your schedule, and 9 times out of 10, you get to control your financial gain. So, I don't see that in some, typical white collar jobs where, you're just part of this big machine. I like being in control of my own world, and therefore that's the path that I took.
So anybody working for someone else, you still feel like they can control their hours and I mean, if you work for somebody else as a blue collar worker, is it really dramatically different than working for someone else in an office?
Well, yeah, because you have to look at it this way. There is such a supply shortage of blue collar workers right now. I read something on the news this morning that we have the worst shortage of workers since World War II. So if you look at the supply and demand thing just on its face, okay, you have for every 10 contractors that are retiring, electricians, plumbers, carpenters, machinists, there's only 5 backfilling those positions. So you've got this huge black hole of demand. And we all know that where demand is high and supply is low, that's where the money goes. So for me, if you can go out and make something happen with your own 2 hands, you may be working for somebody for a while, but chances are you're going to be so busy that you're going to be entering a phase where you say, you know what, I think I can do this for myself. I can start my own company. And it's never been easier to do that.
Well, it's interesting because I just saw someone post on Facebook, can anybody recommend, and I can't remember what the trade was, and it said, and there was a qualifier, who is available right now and not going to tell me to get on their calendar for the summer. So we're all feeling this. We all know what COVID has done and how the world has changed, and that something breaks in our house, and it's such a struggle right now. So do you think that ultimately is going to change things? Like, are possibly schools going to reconsider shop again?
Well, I can tell you there's like a perfect storm of 3 influences that cause this problem. Number one, you just talked about it. When I was in school, you could walk down the hallway and look into the carpentry shop or the mechanic shop, or you could look into a hair salon training center. I mean, you could see these different things, and you could almost accidentally discover, plumbing, electricians, carpet, all these types of things. Well, they took those shop classes out of high school and they filled those rooms with computers. Now, I know we all needed to learn computers, but why did that have to be a binary choice, meaning one versus the other? Yes. So you have that problem. Then you also have, instead of kids going out and playing in the yard and maybe building a tree fort with a real hammer, some nails, and some lumber, they're building cities on Minecraft on their cell phones, which is not the same experience, as you know. And then, colleges are really good at marketing themselves, and they're really good at making you believe that if you don't go to school, you won't amount to anything. And half the population would disagree with that, because full employment is 165 million. There's 77 million people within that number doing something with their hands. And so that opportunity is only getting better, not worse.
Okay, so let's home in a little bit on, like, what's the difference? I don't actually know the difference between trade school and getting an apprenticeship. Are those the same things? Are they different?
Well, yeah, I mean, those words are kind of used interchangeably. When I think of an apprenticeship, I think of just jumping right into the workforce, finding a mentor that does what you do or what you like to do or what you think you might like to do, and just following them. And I'll tell you why that's such a great option right now. You know, I've hired 2,000 people or more in my career. Okay, I have a current staff of 200, and it is so difficult to find people that when you find that bright-eyed person that's willing to shake your hand and look you in the eye and God forbid be early to the interview, okay, you want to put them under your wing so quickly, and you want to show them everything that you can, because they're more of a rarity than they used to be. I used to put an ad in the paper and 30 people would be in my foyer. Now it's like 3. So if I find that right person, I'm going to coddle them and I'm going to take them as quickly up the ladder as I can. And that's why an apprenticeship is a really good way to go. Tech schools are awesome as well, because they're probably 1/5 the cost of college, and you know right where you're going when you get out. If I'm going in to become in a carpentry school, I know I'm coming out a carpenter. Well, some people, when you walk into a business class, one of those nondescript business degrees, you don't know what you're going to have when you come out other than a degree and some debt. So, it's the specificity that I think is so important in those endeavors.
I want to point out something that is related to this moment in time, which is that applications to colleges are way down, and you're seeing applications to come work with you going way down. And where are all those kids, and how have they responded to really this pandemic and what's going on in the world right now? I mean, we really could see ourselves in a like crisis for quite a while right now.
Yeah, I call it the blue collar crisis, and it is going to be around for a while. I think what's happening is everyone's just kind of positioning themselves to say, okay, what really matters to me? What's really important to me? What values do I have? And how does work life fit into those? I've always believed that we don't live to go to work. I believe that we work so that we can live. And so what I'm trying to do is to let kids understand that the most important driving factor in your lifetime is going to be what you think your life is going to look like. Nobody else. Okay. Not your uncle, your teacher, your friend. I mean, only you know what you'd be passionate at, what you would like to do for a living, what you'd be good at, what your life, the way you see it would be for you, or your perfect nirvana. And so I think kids just need to understand that if they start with the vision first, there's probably a half a dozen different paths, one of them being college, that they can take to get there.
Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about how college looms in our conversation as a society. There's so much, so many initiatives out there to try and get more and more kids to go to college. And we have this other crisis on the other end of debt. But if we've been living with this notion of college as a kind of transition to life, almost a rite of passage, and with that storytelling is you get education. That's only one part of it. You get community. That's another part. You build networks. How does that happen in the equivalent, in the parallel world of trade?
Well, I look at it this way. First off, you're getting paid to work on day one versus going to school for 4 years, maybe racking up 100 or so thousand in debt. And 4 years of trades work, you could be positive 200,000, because geez, these jobs are starting people at 50 grand right now. It's incredible what's happening out there. So, you have that $300,000 swing that you need to think about. And again, the thing about college, okay, they say 40% of kids that go to college go not knowing why they're there, or why are they going. They say 25% of those kids eventually pick a major and then change it. And then at the end of the day, the number is only 35% of all college degree holders ever use that degree in their lifetime. So it can be an inefficient system if you don't know exactly why you're going. The other side of the coin is, if you think carpentry might be your thing, or mechanics or whatever, you can get right into life. You can get right into making money, right into starting your financial setup, whether it's a checking account, Visa, getting your first car, getting your first apartment. You kind of learn crash course of life by doing life. And I don't think one has an advantage over the other.
Okay, so Lori is always a great commenter here. She's a proud blue collar family growing up, And she agrees we need more tradesmen. But where she lives, there's a public magnet school just for these trades and more, and it's hugely successful and has a waiting list to get in. So that's great to hear.
Absolutely. I wish there was a lot more of those. Where I'm from, in Northwest Ohio, there's one of those that serves 4 counties. It's amazing. I mean, you can walk into this place and literally go from one type of skill or trade to another, the room after room after room, and you can immerse yourself in everything from robotics to plumbing to mechanics to hairdressing to all these different types of things. The problem with that is there's not enough of those schools, and if this one serves 4 counties, that means kids are driving an hour plus to get there every day. So yeah, that's definitely something that I wish high schools would revert back to, because they've gotten so far the other way in becoming college prep high schools that there's that stigma again that you talk about. Well, wow, I'm not planning on going to college, so if this is a college prep high school, am I something different? And I feel bad that happens, but we really have to right that ship.
Okay, so someone that works with us, her kid decided not to go right to college. And for that stretch of time, cocktail parties were really hard because she was amongst a group of people whose kids all went to college. So I just want you to think back, outside of your current state where this is what you're talking about. Was there ever a moment in time where you were somewhere and you thought, gee, I really wish I had that college degree?
I think if you're in a room with people bragging about and I've been to these parties too, where the parents are like, well, my daughter's going to this school, my son's going to that school. And it's almost like they're trophies in a way, they're very proud, but
exactly
they're also
that.
trophies. So, was there ever a time where I regretted not going to school? I don't think so, because I immediately got into opening companies for the company that I worked for. And that was the best school I could ever have, because I traveled around the country opening offices and making mistakes, on other people's dimes. And it was really enlightening and really eye-opening. But I don't think I ever had a regret for that. Maybe early on when everybody else was going this way and I decided to go that way, it was like, am I making the right call? But I got to tell you, my life's been great. No one ever rolls into my driveway and looks at all the things that I've accomplished and said, wow, where'd you go to school? Their question is always, man, Ken, how did you grind this life out? Meaning, what did I actually do to make that happen? And therein lies the difference.
That's great. Okay, so you have a mantra: comfort, peace, and freedom. Can you tell us what it means? And then I also want you to address, do you think high school students can be guided by this mantra, or are they too young?
No, I think first off, we don't give kids enough credit for knowing who they want to be, and not following just this automatic pressure of either parents or schools to do this certain path. But comfort, peace, and freedom to me those were 3 words that just kept coming back into my head. I couldn't get rid of them, because I was writing a letter to my daughter, who was sick at the time. She had a pretty serious illness, and for 5 years it was a pretty scary time. She's better now, and thank God for that. But I was writing her a letter about what I thought was important in life, and these 3 words, comfort, peace, and freedom, kept coming, because they're almost interdependent upon each other, like a triangle for their strength. And comfort is a lot more than just a couch. Okay, comfort is who I am as a person, who I am with my give back moment, my health, where I see my life going. The peace that comes from not having a bunch of debt and being very stressed. Okay, peace is the opposite of stress. And then you have things like the freedom to say, I'm going to be spontaneous now that I don't have all these things loaded down in my head. Your head can only hold so many emotions and spill over if you don't choose those properly. And that's always been a big thing for me, is just to try to put myself in the best nirvana state I could do.
Okay, I'm going to share Sharon's comment because I think it's so excellent. Don't let friends make you feel bad that your child didn't go to college. I have one in college and one making it with landscaping and maybe move to the trades. As long as they aren't camping on your couch, you are good. Nothing truer than that. That is excellent. Thanks so much for sharing that.
Well, yeah, and I would like to make one comment on that. I wrote an open letter to parents the other day. It's on my website. And one of the things I said was, I get it. I get it that you think you have to do this as part of the completion of raising your child. I mean, you birthed your child, you fed your child, you clothed them, you bathed them, you protected them, you educated them. And now you think, well, this is the next natural step that I have to do. It's okay if your kids don't go to college, because we're not necessarily trying to raise overly educated kids. We're trying to raise happy kids. And although those aren't mutually exclusive, the ultimate goal is, are they independent? Are they happy? Are they financially sound? And I think you've done a good job as a parent if you can say yes to those questions.
Yeah. I mean, resilience is a really big one on that list, because happy doesn't last all the time, and making
Absolutely.
sure that they have resilience so that they can rebound on those down times. Okay. So now talking about the end first, tell us what you mean by that.
You know, so many people, they live these if-then lives, okay? If I go to high school, and if I get good grades, and if I get a scholarship, and if I get a college degree, and if I get a good paying job, then I can live my life, okay? Well, I would submit to you that you probably never got into your car, backed it out of the driveway, put it in drive, and then said, wow, I have no idea where I'm going right now. Okay. You always have a destination. Okay. And you start out with that destination before you even leave the house. So I think life is the same way. Instead of living if-then lives, I think we begin with the then, figure out what that is, draw it out in as crystal clear, vivid color as you can, leave that in front of you in a place you'll see it on a daily basis, and then pick one of the many paths to get there, because what your brain sees, it automatically attracts itself to. And your brain is such a powerful tool. I know it's worked for me my whole life and career with any goal that I've ever set. So see it first and then find a way to go get it.
So how do we know you're not special? Like, you mentor kids. Do you see this in your new hires, that you can have these conversations with them, and at a young age they can do this kind of looking at the end and working backwards? Because you seem special.
Yeah, well, thank you for saying that, but I'm not special, because there's one thing that works every time, and that is, you need to lose the word someday from your vocabulary. Okay, someday, when you say someday let's go to lunch, or someday let's go out and get together, or someday let's go to the movies, or someday I'm going to take a photography class, whatever it might be. When you use the word someday, your brain is automatically giving you a break for not doing it. Okay. It's like I'm just putting it on the shelf, and someday I'll get to that. You have to drop that word from your vocabulary and change it to today. Okay. And that's what I do with the people in my office. And man, I tell you what, when they make that light bulb switch, you know, I actually had we have this huge goal board in our office that people walk up and write their goals on. I actually had a new gal walk down the hallway as I was mentoring someone to do that. And she goes, wow, that's really cool. Someday I'm going to put a goal up on the board. And I was like, time out. You did not just say that. So it's called the 2-Dayers Club. And that's what you do. If you're ready to do something, you put that on the board and everyone sees it. We share it. And today is the day, and it's going to happen for you.
It makes me think of when you bump into somebody and they say we should really get together.
Exactly. And you know what I do? I pull out my phone and get my calendar out, and then they look at you like, oh my gosh, we're really doing this. Well,
I didn't really mean it. I meant someday.
Right.
Okay, here's my last question for you. So the idea of power of young money, I think, is really important and interesting. And I don't think we teach that to our kids. So when I say kids, we talk to parents of teenagers. They're listening now. How would they explain what it is? And then how would they have the conversation with their kids about this?
Well, first off, you know, the most important bill that you pay is you. You know, you've heard that said many times, pay yourself first. There is no doubt that you should do that. And I'll give you a quick example. When someone goes in for an interview and they say, I'm going to pay you $40,000 a year, I want you to look back at that interviewer and say, thank you for paying me $37,000 a year. Okay, but I'm paying you 40. No, I get that, but I want to forget about that first 3,000. I never had it. I can't spend it. I won't miss it because it's never been in my budget. Okay, I'm making 37,000, not 40. So if you take that $3,000, $60 a week, and put it away in a 401k when you're 21, you only need to do that for 10 years, saving a total of about 30,000. And when you retire, you're going to have over $1 million in your 401k account. I don't know any quicker way to become a millionaire than to just do that 15 minutes worth of paperwork. So yeah, you have to get your kids used to saying, my very first nickel, my very first 10 or 20% is getting pushed off to the side like I never had it. You won't miss it. Put it somewhere you can't get to it, and you will not believe the power of young money. I wish I had learned that really early on. It took me into my mid-30s to learn that, but yeah, it's a really powerful driving force for financial futures.
And do you think that even for babysitting and landscaping, like right away, you just start with that mentality?
Well, it's like anything else. If you grew up making your bed, then that means the first thing you did when you got up is you created a nice, safe, clean place. You accomplished something within 5 minutes of standing up out of the bed. I think this is the same way. Once you get into the habit of doing this as a young person, this will follow you your whole life, and you will never have an issue when you think about long-term retirement if you start that habit early.
So set the patterns early.
Absolutely.
Okay, Ken Rusk, thanks so much for being here with us. Let's see what Lori had to say. Saying someday, so true, never happens. Make a date, time, place, and it happens. Wish I learned this early in life. Thanks, Lori, for always commenting here and being with us. And Ken Rusk, again, thanks so much for being here.
You got it. Have a great day, everybody.